Before we dive into this episode, we wanted to take the opportunity to say a heartfelt thank you for being here. Whether you've been with us from the very beginning when we started this podcast in 2019 or you're new, welcome.
We hope you enjoy what you hear, and if you do, please download it, share it with friends, and leave a review. It really helps us get better guests and share the midlife love. On today's episode, we're joined by someone who's making a real impact in the mental health space. Neil Smith is the co-founder of app Mettle alongside Bear Grylls. It's an innovative mental well-being app designed to help men build confidence, resilience, and emotional strength through practical, science-backed tools.
The focus of Mettle is on everyday mental fitness, not waiting until crisis hits, but empowering users to understand their emotions, develop healthier coping strategies, and give them permission to take control of their mental well-being in a simple, accessible way.
We talked to Neil about his stellar TV career, the inspiration behind the app, why so many people, especially men, struggle to access the right kind of support, and how Mettle is helping change the conversation around male mental health. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Mentors with me, James.
And me, Claire. I was about to say, what have we been up to? But
I feel like actually
in Ibiza.
Not a lot since the last podcast.
We're chilling in Ibiza. It has been lovely weather.
I was going to say,
beach.
I think we're missing the Christmas attraction festival kind of atmosphere of London.
Well, I'm a Christmas fairy. I do love Christmas.
But having said that, 20 plus degrees, sunshine on a beach isn't too bad either.
No, I know. But I am popping back home on Saturday for a few nights of Christmas cheer and then back. So I'm going to get my fix.
Bring the mince pies. When you
I will. I'll bring the M&S mince pies. We don't get anything like that out here, do we?
No.
The most exciting thing is to go to the Lidl they have here and get some Stollen. That's it.
Other supermarkets also available.
Right, let's dive straight in.
We will dive straight in because we've got an amazing guest. So a few weeks ago, I was very privileged to be asked by Deutsche Bank to go and give a talk as part of their whole men's health initiative. And it was an amazing event they'd organised, had loads of people there. And one person I met was this guy, Neil. Neil Smith.
And my dog.
Founder and creator of Mettle. And has a fascinating past as well. So I thought we had to get him on the podcast. And here he is. Neil, welcome with the dog.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Very, very lovely welcome. My dog just walked in at the moment. His name's Dog.
Yeah,
so cute.
My emotional support dog. I quite often take him to events, actually.
Once in on the podcast as well.
Exactly. He's always in.
Oh, look
he's always
at him.
in on the podcast. He likes to know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? He can hear some voices. He's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Bless him.
Yeah.
Neil, we met at that fantastic event.
Brilliant event.
And I think I was struck by a few things. Number one is like the amazing app Mettle, which we'll get onto. But
yeah,
I think first, just tell us a bit. You've had an absolutely fascinating career in TV production. Do you mind just explaining a bit of your backstory and how that developed into you launching Mettle?
Yeah, great. Okay, well, we've got about 35 minutes. That should cover it, I reckon. Yeah, so look, I run a tech company now, a men's mental health company called Mettle. Wearing the T-shirt, obviously, METTLE, a person's ability to deal with difficulty, Mettle means. And I guess that's kind of what we're trying to create, something that a toolkit for men that can help them. We'll go on to that later. But why? Well, my background is TV. So I'm a TV executive by trade. I kind of worked my way up through, produced the first Shipwrecked and, ended up doing a lot of stuff for Channel 4 and ended up running companies, started working with Bear Grylls, who's my co-founder on Mettle. So Bear and I had a really good time jumping out of helicopters into volcanic lakes across the world and generally, doing boys' own adventures. It was amazing. Ended up running the companies that I created shows for and eventually ended up running the company, one of the largest production companies in the UK. And my shows were The Apprentice, Grand Designs, Escape to the Country, Great Railway Journeys. So kind of big British kind of stalwarts, And and now I'm not doing that. So, I used to have a really kind of massively highly paid job and was ultra successful and I gave it up. And part of that, I guess, is kind of, in the title of this podcast, it was a midlife thing. So I reached what effectively was the top of my profession. I was one of the top TV execs in the UK and therefore the world. And yeah, I became existentially unhappy, I guess. So I became fundamentally bored and unstimulated. So I think some people call it second mountain syndrome, if you know of that. So where like us guys, we can often, and this is particularly my background. I didn't come from a wealthy background at all, and we struggle with money and all the rest of it. So I always wanted to kind of, be successful and have money and have the house or houses and, the car and all the rest of it. Yeah. But mainly to provide security. And then I got to effectively the top of this mountain that I was climbing. It was a good mountain. I had a bloody good time getting up, but it was fun getting up. But once I reached the top, I was like, oh, this isn't where I need to be. I need to be on that second mountain over there, which is having some real purpose in my life. So I got to kind of the place where I was kind of, 50 years old or just about to hit 50. My dad died at 50. So I was thinking, okay, well, look, I could stay here for another 10 years in TV, have a really good pension, the kids and the family wouldn't really want for anything, all the holidays they want, etc. But that would be too easy, wouldn't it? And I was like, effectively I was counting the money I earned every day to get through the day, like literally. I mean, and then I'm like, okay, this is unhealthy. This is not normal. Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I need to leave and start again and create something that has real purpose. And now, as well as kind of running these kind of big kind of monolith shows, like The Apprentice, like my personal passion was creating shows which took really important subject matters to mass audiences. So I made shows like The Undateables, which is a series, where people with disabilities go on dates. Now, it's a great show. Yes, it's a very heartwarming show. But if we'd have made a documentary about people with disabilities, you wouldn't have ever seen that, Claire. Nobody would, like 200,000 people would have watched it. Yeah. But instead, we made a dating show, biggest genre in the world. That show ran for 20 seasons, got sold all over the world, remade by Netflix, made tens of millions of pounds for the company. But in doing so, over 100 million people have seen that globally. It changed perceptions around disability and how people who are differently abled still want to have relationships and fall in love, which a lot of people didn't even realize at the time. So, and I did one more recently with a guy called Ed Stafford. He's a survival guy. He normally spends 60 days and 60 nights on a desert island with nothing but his camera for discovery.
Yeah, the naked guy, right?
That's right, yeah. Naked and marine, that's right.
I haven't heard of this naked guy.
Yeah, he's a tough guy, actually. He's a good guy. So I did this show with him called Left for Dead. I'd just done the show Left for Dead. And it's like, right, okay, Ed, what we'll do is we'll drop you in the most dangerous places in the world with nothing, yeah? And then you've got to, he doesn't do it naked anymore. It's sort of, he's done with the naked bit. But and then you've got 10 days to kind of cross some terrain and meet us at this point where we can pick you up by helicopter. And if you don't make it, you have to radio, So it's like called Left for Dead. And I remember, talking to him and he's like, yeah. I said, what do you want to take? He's like, nothing. I'm like, you've at least got to take a knife, mate. Do you know what I mean? Just take a knife. He's like, all right, take a knife. But he's quite a tough guy. And I said to him, look, Ed, you're ex-military, male, suffered mental health problems, adopted, all risk factors for ending up on the streets and becoming homeless in the UK. And there was a massive homeless crisis at the time. I said, why don't we do your show, 60 Days and Nights, but rather than a nice desert island, we'll do it on the streets of London, Manchester and Glasgow over a British winter. And we called it 60 Days on the Streets. And he kind of survived homelessness. It was, experiential show. And it was Channel 4's biggest new hit series for 5 years. So I love doing these shows. And I thought, right, okay, I'm just going to go and do stuff with purpose and bring it to big audiences. And the thing that I was most passionate about was the kind of male mental health space. And that's because a couple of reasons. I started meditating at the age of 11. I got a condition of the nervous system, like a chronic shaking condition. And by the time I was 11, my hands would shake so badly, I couldn't get a teaspoon of sugar into a cup of tea. And I was actually prescribed meditation and it completely changed my life. Really? So changed my condition. Got really into breath work later on. And in my 20s, I had depression. And like a lot of guys, I just didn't tell anybody about it. I just suffered in silence for 10 years. And, and then more recently, I realized that the biggest killer of men under 50 is now suicide. So that is your biggest risk factor for death up until the age of 50, not cancer or heart disease. That is mad. And there's a lot of stigma around male mental health. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm somebody who's kind of busted stigmas around, disability and homelessness and lots of other things. And could I do the same for male mental health? And that's kind of
Wow.
where the idea for Mettle came about. And as a result of that, and I can tell you all about how that kind of happened, but as a result of that, I went from being a very successful TV exec to a remortgaged, impoverished tech founder running an app. So, hey, how's that for a midlife crisis for you?
How long? How long have you been? How long ago did you set Metal up then?
So I set it up a couple of years ago. About 3 years ago, I started to kind of, get things together. But, I guess a hot blonde or a sports car would have been a lot easier in many ways.
Yeah, I have to say something I noticed. So if you're watching this on video, we will have some of this on video, but your t-shirt has got 2 mountain peaks on it. Was that on purpose because of what you said? The second peak?
No, I've never even thought of that. Oh, thanks, Claire. That's what I'm going to tell everybody from now on.
I used to work in PR and comms, so
There you go.
that.
Second mountain, yeah. Well, you know what? A lot of the guys that are attracted to Mettle, a lot of our users. So we're a B2C app, like a consumer app. You can get it on the App Store, download it. It's 50 quid a year. But we also have men's groups, which are free. So you can join our men's groups, which are Zoom things and WhatsApp. A lot of those guys are, our core audience. We didn't set out for this, but are those midlife guys. Midlife Mike, as we call it, what you call it in PR, you'll be aware of it. Who's what they call it is personas. They say
yeah. Avatars.
Your avatar.
Yeah.
So ours is midlife Mike. So it's 30 to 55-year-old men is what we see. Who are experiencing some difficulty in their life, and that might be just a sense of kind of frustration at where they are in their career, or it can be losing a job, or it could be getting seriously ill, or it could be just relationship problems, whatever it is, elderly parents, health issues. And those are the sort of guys, when we hit that age, those are the sort of guys that we're seeing, somebody with, people with, life's got real, I guess. We all know it. We've all been there.
Yeah. Neil, I just want to thank you for being so honest about sharing your story, because I know I coach a lot of high performing men, and what you said is just such a familiar tale that men hit this point and they're like, oh, I've got everything that I thought that I wanted, but actually just feel empty and lost inside.
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you, because I know also that a lot of men feel really alone with that, and they feel a bit of guilt and shame around it sometimes. They're like, well, my life's all right. Why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing, because the message is.
I know it seems quite selfish in a way, James, doesn't it? Like, well, wait a minute. Like, I came from, somewhere where this outcome might not have been expected. And like, where I live in London, it's a very mixed area. And it's like, I'm incredibly fortunate. And even in my career, I was at the top of it, the top of that game. So how selfish of me to kind of think, well, this isn't enough and I'm going to, walk away.
But I think from a female perspective, I talk about this a lot on LinkedIn. So I am a massive men's health advocate, to the detriment sometimes of women on my posts who think that I'm anti-feminist and all that kind of stuff. But, I really do champion this changing the narrative really around men's health, that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I see a lot is men, I suppose, holding a lot, and they have these great expectations. They're told one thing and then expected to do another. So big boys don't cry, but we want you to be vulnerable and emotional as well. We want you to be this and this as well at the same time. And I think we're in a world now where a lot of men don't really know where their place is.
100%.
I think that's more so than ever before, because actually the landscape has massively changed. You're not out in fields labouring anymore. Some of you are, but I suppose what I'm trying to say is, you get to this stage where you're told that you need to have all of this status, all of this stuff, all these material possessions. But at the end of the day, male or female, we're all human, and there's this innate desire to have a life that is meaningful and purposeful.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't matter where we get to, like, some of us just, and a lot of us just have that hit round our head like a sledgehammer. And then
Mm.
what do we do with that? And I think that's where something like Mettle, the stuff that James does, it's so important to talk
Mm.
about this more, that it's normal, that there isn't something when you wake up in the morning, there's not something horrendously wrong with you. It's
Yeah.
something that like most men are going through at midlife.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it did hit me like, I just couldn't. Yeah, I was just existentially not in a good place. And so
Yeah.
I had to change. But it's interesting because I've given up a lot, I'd say, especially financially. And that is stressful because it's now we don't have enough
Mm,
money coming in compared to
mm,
what's going out. And that's fine because, that's the nature of tech and building things and all the rest of it. Um, but, that puts some pressure on
yeah,
the family, obviously.
yeah.
And but like I'm a bit of a hippie, so I wanted to create Mettle. The whole idea. So just to give you kind of, just to touch on a couple of points, what you talk about. There's a lot of information out there for men. A lot of it's conflicting. People don't know what to be. So I kind of looked at that space, looked at the thing. I said, right, what is there? So okay, we got a male mental health crisis here. Biggest killer of men under 50 is suicide. That is not right. What is the reason? They don't tell anybody about it. They don't talk to people about it. That is the reason. So somebody was telling me the other day that if a woman takes her own life, then she'll have told on average 8 people. Yeah, and obviously they're much less likely to take their own lives. About 1 to 4, it is. And if a man takes his own life, he's unlikely to have told anyone. So it's a completely different. So the driving thing is that men do not seek help for mental health. Yeah, and mental health is not being unwell, saying I've got psychosis. It's life's happened to me and something really shit's happened to me and I don't know how to deal with it. Maybe I'm better off not here. And so there's a lot of kind of, so I'm like, okay, well, how can we help these guys? So if there's this stigma, which I felt, which is why I didn't talk about depression when I had it. My best mate found out that all the time we were hanging out in our 20s, I was not well when he read about it in the Times, because I did an interview in the newspaper. He called me out. I was like, what the hell? But it's kind of like, I saw that there was nothing. So if the stuff that's why don't men seek help? Why don't men talk? Well, because of stigma. They feel, oh well, this isn't manly, or this isn't, I feel vulnerable. I don't like being vulnerable. So I'm like, okay, well, we need to create something in Mettle which takes away that stigma. So the whole idea, the 3 reasons that men don't go in that wellness space and go and use, a lot of guys just won't use Calm My Headspace or go to the doctors or go to a therapist. It's because they see the space as too female, too hippie-ish, and there's nothing wrong with them. Yeah, so we've got to create a product which takes away those barriers. So too female, well, we're just for men. The science shows that gender-specific mental health interventions work better for men. Too hippie-ish, well, we're really straight talking and science-backed, co-designed with Imperial College, verified by the NHS, and Bear Grylls fronts it. It's pretty straightforward. And there's nothing wrong with me, which is why we talk about mental fitness and we're trying to kind of say, look, everybody has mental health. Mental health in itself is a stigmatized term. We don't think physical health is a bad thing. We think it's a good thing. We think mental health is a bad thing. Why is that? They're the same,
Yeah.
two sides of the same coin. Mental fitness is the practice of looking after yourself in order that you feel good in the moment. You hopefully, can ward off future kind of difficulties, but if they come, you'll have more resilience to deal with them. Exactly the same as physical fitness. We go to the gym, so we feel good, we look good, we're confident. Hopefully, we won't get ill, but if we do, we'll be more, able to deal with it. Exactly the same thing. So, and I thought there's loads of information out there for men. So my wife, I know she's not a man, but hey, bear with me, was one day, listening to like Stephen Bartlett, a podcast, and saying, oh yeah, I've just had this guy, and he said, like, if you eat 25 different types of rainbow colored food a day, you're going to live forever. I'm like, yeah, but the week before there was the guy on saying that if you do intermittent fasting, you're going to live forever. It's like there's so much information, and you got toxic masculinity as well. There's so much in the manosphere. So I'm like, okay, our mantra should be transformation beats information, which is why we have so little information on the Mettle app. So we just give people tools that they can just use that have been proven to work by science to get them in a better mental state. A bit of breath work, transform your physiological state. I'm feeling shit. Okay, I do this breath work. Okay, I feel a bit better because my physiological state has changed. That's just pure science. So we're really trying to give people transformative tools because there's so much information out there, but so much conflicting and men not knowing what to do. And yeah, of course, we'd love to dig into that, and we talk about it in our men's groups and stuff. But just to start with, it's like, look, just let's do what we've done in TV. Meet men where they're at. Well, where are they? They're on their phones and not talking. All right, let's give them something on their phone that doesn't require them to talk.
Yeah.
Simple talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just talking about that connection piece, actually, because you said the men's group.
Yeah.
How important do you think that piece is, that connection and community?
Yeah. So I think it is incredibly important and will become increasingly more important as we move into an AI-driven world. So just to take AI, which is obviously kind of changing everything, community, authenticity, connection will be the new currency. So they say, well, live events and kind of, in-person stuff is going to be really valuable, more so than ever, because, we can already not, create, not us personally, but, you can already create like an ad or maybe even a movie. I'm not sure, but you can create things that's so lifelike now you can't tell the difference. I saw that the other day. I didn't know it was AI.
Frightening.
Yeah, it's frightening. Yeah. So authenticity and community are going to be really important. Also, it's been shown that men don't talk. We know men don't talk. Yeah, they don't talk about their problems. But if you create an environment where you give them the permission, so we said, right, you can't just give men the tools. You've got to give them the permission and the tools. You've got to say, this is for you. It's for men. It's not hippie-ish. It's, there's nothing wrong with you. That's our permission. But if you give, so I talk about WhatsApp quite a lot. A lot of us guys are on WhatsApp groups, yeah? And quite often, the only form of allowable communication on a WhatsApp group is banter. Yeah, so it's like, oh, this, that, that means that you've closed down the permissions for your group in that group are just banter. So if you were to phone your mate up, that would be really weird. Yeah, because it's like, well, wait a minute, we communicate through WhatsApp and bantering, or you can't say how you're feeling. Whereas my wife, she speaks to her best mates like on a daily basis for like half an hour on the phone. And it's like, well, you only saw them in person yesterday. What have you got to say? But that, women and men are different, and we have to give men the permission. So if you take that same group of men and put them in a different WhatsApp group where the rules are we communicate and we share and we check in with each other and see how each other's doing, then they'll do that as well. So community, men work really well in a community with other men. And that's why you've got an explosion of men's groups and kind of men's retreats and all of this. It's just going crazy, this whole mental fitness space for men.
Yes.
Because community.
Well, we know that midlife men, their social networks shrink as they get older, right? So loneliness, isolation, all those sorts of things. And I think for everyone, real in-person connection is so important. I think with the digital age, just for everyone's become very insular. So, but for men even more, absolutely.
I agree. Just to pick up on those 2 points, Claire, like for men, even more. Why? Well, because as you just mentioned, men tend to be lonelier. Men tend to fare worse if they break up in a relationship.
Yes.
They tend to have less friends to rely on. When they're older, they will much more likely to experience loneliness. And, like one thing men seem to be obsessed with is like Whoop straps and now, okay, I'm going to go for a run and see if I can improve my BPM by one resting heart rate. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, but if you're not hanging out with your mates and you haven't got community, you're likely to take years off your life. So the current science shows that community and connection, loneliness is worse than smoking, 40 cigarettes a day or something like that.
17 cigarettes a day, I think.
So it's 20 cigarettes a day, yeah. So it's kind of like, if you are not in some kind of community, that is going to take more years off your life, likely, than cancer or heart disease or anything else. That's the number one life shortener now, is loneliness. That is the science that's been shown. So rather than just trying to, improve the resting heart rate by 1 BPM or whatever you're supposed to do, I don't know, clearly I'm not doing it. But think about community. How can you make connections? So we got to create new containers for men who traditionally haven't been good at doing that, in order to help them do that. Like, I love Spain, where you guys are. Like, we've got a place down in south of Spain, and like like Spain is now one of the longest lived nations on earth. It might even be the longest lived nation on earth. It's like, well, what and how can that be possible? Because they eat badly at the wrong time, drink too much, stay out late, sleep terribly. It's like all the things you're not meant to do. The Spanish do them,
Yeah.
but they put family and connection
Yeah.
and friendship above all else. Yeah, so that's the most important thing in their life, and that's why they think they live so long.
Yeah.
I'm into that. Like
I'm into that.
see
We
it.
notice it here.
It's
Like,
Yeah,
you go to the restaurants, the bars, and they're just full of groups of friends,
yeah,
families. And it's like
yeah.
every Sunday the family will
That's
be
right.
out all together, all their friends.
Yeah,
And
it's all different ages as well.
yeah,
And I think that's what we've lost in the Western world is that, well, like in
Northern Europe.
Europe, really, we've
yeah,
lost that sense of connection to our elders as well.
yes,
So we
yep,
don't have the wisdom passed down to us through the elders that say, yeah, I made that mistake, but this is what I did, and or just being able to have the energy actually of
yeah,
someone a bit older or even someone a bit younger. These are all the
yeah. Well,
things
it's
that keep
multi-generational.
us,
Yeah.
yeah, it's this multi-generational thing that we've completely lost.
Well, one of my favorite stories about Spain, I was filming there. So the reason I know Spain quite well is because I used to film a TV series there, and I was filming up in this kind of mountain village in Andalusia, and there's a lot of EU money floating around at the time to build roads and all that sort of stuff. You might remember it, and they redid Andalusia basically, and it's
Yeah.
just a tiny little mountain village. And there's this big new building, big new shiny modern building. And I said to the guy, like I can't remember who I was with, but like one of the locals, what's that? And he said, "Oh, that's an old people's home. We got money from the EU to build a brand new old people's home." I'm like, okay. And then I looked through the window and it's just full of wood and building materials and all that. I said, "Where's the old people?" He says, what?" I'm like, why is there loads of building materials in there? He said, "Oh, we store all our building materials in there. That's what we use it for." I said, "What? So you don't have old people in there?" He's like, "No, why would we put old people in there? They live with us in the village." And it
yeah,
was like, don't be ridiculous. Yes, we took the money from the EU to build to
of
build the
course.
building and call it an old people's home, but we're not going to put old people in there. They live with us. And it was
Yeah,
just like the whole kind of attitude is completely different. It's like, well, that's
Yeah.
madness. Why would you do that?
yeah.
We needed somebody else to store our building materials. We built it.
That's
It's
crazy.
interesting, isn't it? Because I think we've seen this cultural acceleration that has actually worked to make men more and more isolated. We obviously had two world wars that men were the majority casualties in that. But the whole working, for the Industrial Revolution onwards, it was really geared towards let's get, and it was mainly men into factories, whatever, to make stuff, and that kind of dissolved the traditional groups that would have been pre-industrial. So harvesting together, planting together, that whole community spirit. Yes, people were working in factories, but again, the research shows, men kind of associate with their work colleagues, but their colleagues not really friends. And I think it does leave this big empty gap, particularly as men age, particularly when they get to retirement, and they're saying like, "Oh, now I've finished work and I've got no friends." So
Yeah.
it's great that I think we're waking up to that, and the work you're all doing with Mettle and other people are doing to like help reconnect men together and realize the importance of spending time with other male company. It's so important.
Yeah, 100%.
I've got a question,
Yeah.
which I hope this is okay to ask you.
Yeah.
If it's
Well, I
not,
don't know. Yeah, I haven't heard it.
if it's not, we'll just cut it. I'm really keen as a woman to know what more we can be doing as women to support.
Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, one of the things that we've noticed, so we've started to sell metal to businesses. So businesses came to us actually and said, well, so we had guys who were using it who were in business, who were like in businesses. And they said, like Chief Inspector of Thames Valley Police came to us and said, "Oh, I absolutely love this."
Amazing.
Metal was the first thing that's been built for men that I could give to my guys who are quite tough, guys,
Yeah.
men's men. They wouldn't use any of the other stuff. I want to buy this for my guys because it could help them, be calmer and, be more present in the moment and deal with difficult decisions better. And so he bought it. And we had a lot of that. Guys on the oil rigs bought it, Dana Petroleum, Bank of Ireland, the guy there credits Mettle publicly for getting him through a really difficult divorce and bought it for Bank of Ireland. And but one of the things that, some businesses say is, well, actually, what about the women in our in our teams? And we're like, okay, well, they can also have a subscription to Mettle because they can pass it on to the man in their life. That could be a son or a partner or a father or a brother. Yeah. And all of them have a man who they think, oh, there's somebody in my life who could really use this help. So, I mean, so women are a brilliant conduit because women are much more emotionally literate, and much better at communicating. And so, women can help men connect with resources, even if those men find it hard, which pretty much all the ones that women that I've spoken to in those businesses when we've been out and about, it's like, I need to give him something. I need to help him. He won't talk to me about it. He won't talk to me about it. So it's kind of like, how can women be a conduit to helping men find community and resources that they'll feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting kind of perspective.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there's lots of things that we do that I believe we shouldn't be doing as women. But one of the things that we should be doing absolutely is realizing that there are men in our lives that are struggling, that we have brothers, that we have fathers, that we have sons, and what can we be doing more subtly than us women would probably be, with each other. We'd be like, like you said, we're emotionally literate. So we say what's going on right off the bat. We sit down with a glass of wine and then we're straight into it.
That's right.
We don't need to be subtle. Our emotions are like literally on the surface. But with men, I think when James had his book published, the Midlife Male Handbook, one of the things that women were saying to me, because I coach many women at midlife, a lot of them talk to me about the concerns and the heartbreak actually of seeing the men that they love in their lives. It could be their partner, it could be anyone, but having the heartbreak of not being able to reach them and not being able to communicate in the way that we can so easily and freely, that just lands on deaf ears. They know it's not the fault of the guy, actually. It's just that they haven't got the capacity to do it in the way that we do, that communication piece. So what can we do? And I said, well, James has brought the book out exactly for this reason. There's Mettle in the world now for this reason. It's just, have you seen this app? And then leave it. It's not kind of keep going on, or just leave the book hanging around. Because one of the things that I've noticed speaking to my female clients at midlife is, we do tend to make that mistake of going and trying to rescue and talk and communicate when actually they might not be ready. And I know James and I as a couple went through this. When James went through his depression, which made him write the book, no matter how much we worked together, think that we're good communicators, I wasn't helping because I kept trying to force him to communicate with me. But actually just being able to find a resource that's science-backed, because men tend to love that as well, that's science-backed, that's meaty, that they can understand that they're not alone, I think that's really key.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I remember going out and like my mate one night and, seeing my wife the next morning and she's like, oh, how's Sarah and the kids? His wife and the kids. I'm like, oh, I don't know. And she said, well, you were out with Pierre last night. I'm like, well, yeah. Well, did you not ask? I'm like, well, it just didn't come up. And it's kind of like, and that's pretty normal for blokes. Yeah. Now I'm trying to get better at that. But, that's pretty normal. We go out and we talk factually, men talk factually, they don't talk emotionally. Yeah. So you need to be, men and women communicate differently. Yeah. So you have to give men permission and tools. So it's like, okay, well, here's, Mettle, you can do it in private. There's permissions, it's for men, it's science-backed, etc. Or here's a group, it's just got other blokes in it, they're kind of helping each other. Might be good. might be worth having a look at. And in that group, you'll find those different permissions for communication.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like, um, it's Caitlin Moran,
Oh,
famous
yes.
journalist and feminist who wrote a book recently called "What Are We Going to Do About Men" or something like that. And
Yeah.
people are like, and it was about the trouble with men and boys, all this kind of, this crisis that they're in at the moment. And people are like, well, wait a minute, you're supposed to be our most famous feminist. Why are you writing a book about blokes? And she's like, well, because in the past few years, things have improved for women. And this is
Yes.
her phrase, we've got to wear the trousers more. But men
Yes.
are still rubbish at communication. That was what she said. And I thought that was a
Yeah.
really kind of, on point statement.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And I think it's great that apps like Mettle are putting the tools in people's hands. So I think that's what men really want. Sometimes, like you say, they do find it difficult to communicate. So it's actually about,
Yeah.
not in secret so much, but in
Yeah.
their own time,
Yeah.
they can look at the stuff and go, oh, well, that makes sense to me, right? Oh, here's something I can use, I can practice. And it's great to see that being embraced more and more now.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to kind of give something, I'm like, okay, look, there's a lot of people doing good work in the communication space and community, and we're doing community as well. But it's kind of like, but for some guys, they're not going to get to that community. How can we give something that everybody can just download and use, and it can really help them? And
Yeah.
there's a tone of voice that speaks to them, and everything's kind of based around, the 7 things that men told us they need, which is to beat anxiety and reduce stress, sleep better, have more focus, confidence, energy, happiness. So we build it all around there. So it's all really kind of, we're not saying come and learn how to meditate. It's not about that. It's like come and deal with these things, get better at these areas, be a better man, I guess is our message. Here's some tools to help you be a better man, be a happier man,
Because I also find, I also find that that's a narrative as well that some women don't seem to understand or get, this whole kind of like feminist narrative of men don't try, men need to do better, men don't want to do better, they've had it good for so long. This is the side that I see. But actually, I often say the men I know and the men I've had the privilege to speak to in the line of work I've done over the last 10 to 12 years, men are trying. Men want to do better. Like a majority of men are trying and they want to do better. Not just for anyone else, but for themselves, because they want to live a fulfilling life.
Claire, that is exactly what we're trying to do. So we had like a brains trust meeting for Mettle, got loads of really kind of interesting, men in a room who are working in this space, kind of mental health from the city, or people who've, sold apps, or companies, really kind of bright people. And the one thing that came through is, I need something to be a better man. And what can help me be a better man? It's that thing that everybody wants to be a better man. We're all, men are just people, and all people want to be happy. Yeah. And so, how do I be happy? Well, it's, there's a number of ways, but that's being happier inside myself, being better, feeling better about myself, which will allow me to have better relationships, which benefits women, because obviously all men have women in their lives, whether that's a partner or a daughter or a friend or a colleague or a mother or a sister, whatever. Yeah, we've all got women in our lives. So we're better in our relationships and to other men, which in turn, creates a better society. So we live in a more compassionate society as a result of having better men. So it's it's not.
And I'm into that, and I'm all for that, and doing everything I can possible to support you all as you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really do. I think you're doing amazing work, Neil. I really do.
Thank you.
Neil, what's next for Mettle? And for you, I'm curious. Is it full on Mettle? Is there another TV idea floating around in there?
Yeah, no, I'm sticking with Mettle for a while. Yeah, this is my mission, to really get this out across the world and really build it as a movement. I think it's a unique time where men are waking up, to the fact that, they need to look after themselves a bit better. And actually there's a way to do that, which is through community and tools that are suddenly becoming available as this men's mental fitness space opens up, which has got a new term in itself. So yeah, I'm 100% Mettle. Like if I did any more TV shows, it would have to be around male mental health. That's not, that may be popping up at some time. Having a break to go to India at Christmas, so I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, going back to where my hippie roots started, but this time with a family in tow who may or may not like where I'm taking them to. It's going to be utter chaos. Do you know what I mean?
Whereabouts in India are you going?
So we're going to Bodh Gaya, which is where the Buddha achieved enlightenment, which is where I first kind of studied kind of Buddhist meditation and lived there for a while. And then we go to Varanasi, which is the kind of holy.
Oh, I've been there.
Mad. Yeah.
It's mad. That's especially as a solo traveler woman on her own traveling through India. That was interesting.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So that's going to be interesting, taking a family there. And then Agra, Taj Mahal, and then over to Rajasthan, which is a bit more manageable.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Oh. I know there'll be some people listening to this going, right, I need to find out more. Men and women. Where can people find out more about Mettle, download Mettle, get access to it?
Yeah, just go to the App Store. So you go to the App Store or the Google Play Store, put in Mettle, METTLE, Mental Fitness for Men, you'll see it. Yeah, and check it out. We've got a 7-day free trial. So, it's no risk if you don't like it, don't have to pay. And or you can go to our website, which is bmettle.com, which is BEMETTLE.com. Yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Brilliant.
Thank you for all the amazing work you're doing, and thank you for your time on this podcast.
Thanks so much.
For hours.
I know.
Really
well done for taking, because this wouldn't be out there in the world if you didn't have the courage and the tenacity to realise that there was another peak, to another mountain, a second mountain for you to climb. So lots of people's lives wouldn't be touched if you hadn't have had that courage. So
thank you. Yeah. Well, actually, funnily enough, when I'm feeling a bit, God, this is hard work, being a hippie, I drink yogi tea, which is
of course you do,
And I found like this one which I framed, which I don't know if you can read that.
Yeah. Do you want to read it out?
Feel the strength knowing that you can make a difference in the world.
See?
Oh. So I found that and put it in a frame. When I'm thinking, God, this is hard, one I stick at what I was doing. Have a quick look at that.
Love it.
We feel your pain, Neil, as well, by the way. There's lots of times we thought, why did we leave our secure corporate jobs and do this? We wouldn't have had it any other way now. So
yeah, great.
Okay. Thank you so much, Neil.
Thanks so much. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. God
Take
bless.
Care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. You've been listening to the Midlife Mentors with Claire and James Davis.
We'd love to hear from you. So drop us a line at info@themidlifementors.com with any questions or topic suggestions.
And make sure you join us on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find us under the Midlife Mentors.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. And don't forget to take the Midlife Reset Audit now to receive personalised insights into what's holding you back from living your healthiest, happiest midlife. So go ahead and take the audit now at themidlifementors.com/audit.